The 23rd of August 1973 was the day I asked Susan Margaret Packham to marry me. I was 23, Sue was 20. How young were we? This life-changing event took place in Mrs. Williams' guest house in Hay-on-Wye in Herefordshire following a few days' serious courting. I'd known Sue for a little while and used to seeing her as one of a gang of us who socialised together in South Sheffield. We got on well and had done so from the first time we'd met. I actually found out she was the daughter of the owner of the garage in Rotherham where I had bought a rather smart Hillman Avenger in white with the black vinyl roof and the sporty wheels. It was midsummer and neither of us had booked any holiday, so I casually asked Sue if she fancied a few days going around some places I knew in the South Midlands. The Malvern Hills, maybe Stratford-upon-Avon, the Cotswolds, always lovely. I thought it could be fun. She was actually going out with someone else at the time, so I had steeled myself for a refusal, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. Sue thought this to be a fine idea, and within a few days she'd secured time off from her new job as a secretary with the British Steel Corporation. We headed south without booking any accommodation in advance. We ended up staying in a pub in West Malvern. Bed and breakfast £1.50. We stayed in a private bungalow near Stratford-upon-Avon for about the same amount. An RAF man's family home in Burford in the Cotswolds. I think the charge was just over £1, with the biggest breakfast I can ever remember. And finally, Mrs. Williams' guest house in Hay-on-Wye to round off the trip. We found all these places from adverts placed on notice boards or in post offices. It was quite obvious from the outset of this little adventure that Sue and I were getting on very well. As you can tell from the timeline, we were only a few days into being better friends than we were before when I asked Sue to marry me. Yes, I was that certain. I was well and truly smitten. The fact that she answered, "Ooh, yes, please," gave me the answer I was hoping for. Our most pressing need then was to get back to Sheffield and let everyone know. No mobile phones or WhatsApp messages in those days. There were open eyes and open mouths. Really? Are you quite sure? Isn't it a bit soon? She's very independent, you know. Well, just a few of them. So, lots to do. The traditional things like an engagement ring, thinking about a wedding date and everything else. It was a long list. We were two people without any savings, just starting out on the career path. Sue was being paid just under £1,000 a year, and I think I might have been nearer £2,000 a year. But we knew that our parents couldn't subsidise us. So a clean and uncomplicated start, you might say. We married in Sheffield on the 8th of June the following year, nearly 10 months on from our engagement, and during those months of feverish activity and saving, we did our best to set ourselves up for married life. No overdraft allowed, loans were unobtainable for anything other than perhaps a car, and then only from a very friendly bank manager. You could buy furniture on hire purchase at exorbitant interest rates, but there were no such things as credit cards back then. You could, however, given proof of steady jobs and income, obtain a mortgage, but basically it was save first and then spend. We set up home in a very small but brand new house just outside Sheffield in Dronfield, North Derbyshire. A pleasant enough little town. It even had its own swimming pool and some decent shops. And many of our friends had bought houses there because it ticked all the boxes, especially for first-time buyers. The house was priced at a whopping £7,250 with a 5% deposit we saved up for and a mortgage for the other 95%. If that seems ridiculously cheap for a new house, ironically, if we'd spent this amount of money only 2 years earlier, we could have had a 4-bedroom detached house for the same price. There was a spike in property prices, certainly in that area, between 1972 and 74. Sue took the responsibility for the honeymoon. We spent 10 days in Ibiza, including flights for £64 each, full board. Those were the days. Boarding the pink jumbo jet at Luton Airport were some other newly married couples who were looking apprehensive. Some were still looking apprehensive on the flight back as well. We got back home to Dronfield. Sue's mum had been over and kindly left some food basics in the fridge, which we had been given kindly as a wedding present. We had a double bed, a couple of wardrobes, 2 second-hand chairs, an old small dining table from a family friend, and a record player for the LPs and singles we'd accumulated previously. No TV, no washing machine, and generally not much else at all. But it was all ours, and we were happy. Our very own place, and we soon acquired an old black and white TV. Such luxury. We started our family 3 years later, so Sue was then out of the paid work environment for the next 16 years, although, as you'll know full well, there was no doubting how much work is involved in raising 4 children and what an unpaid privilege, and she was brilliant at it. By the time our youngest, Alice, was 4 and ready to go to school full-time, Sue, being Sue, returned to work and also started work towards gaining her diploma in business management from the Open University, which helped enable a long career at Newcastle University before she retired at the age of 63. We both managed to step back from paid employment at 63, which was a real blessing. So, where have the last 50 years gone? Much of it was a blur of raising a family, work, moving houses, even moving away from our home area to the northeast in 1989, and managing to do some things independently of each other, of which we are both very proud. At least we have hundreds of photographs, so we know we were there. The great constant has been seeing our family grow into the very best of people, valued and loved, aware of their responsibilities, and all raising fine families of their own. And here we are, 50 years into this joint venture, and many things have enabled it to work and to flourish. Love, respect, trust, patience, giving and taking, listening, accepting, so much besides. All these years with my dancing queen, who has hung in there for me and with me. I did ask Sue at one point why she had accepted my proposal of marriage, and she said, "I can be myself with you." She can, and she is. I am one very lucky and privileged man.